Hello and welcome to another Learn Sanskrit video here, and in this one we are going to do the first video of the two exercise videos that are coming up for this lesson 3. So we are going to do only the lesson specific exercises this time. And in the other video we will do the accumulated one with more pronouns and like that. So let's do the exercises. But first, you can, if you want, you can take your own sheet of paper. You can take actually 2 sheets of papers because I have 2 screens here. So if you could copy my sentences here before I start, and you can try to solve them on your own, and then you can watch the rest of the video to see how I do it. Okay, so I'll be holding this for 5 seconds more, this screen A1, and then I'll be doing the same, hold 5 seconds for screen A2, so you can stop the video 2 times and do your copy. And now I'll show you the A2 sheet here. Alright, so let's get back to exercise A1 here, the exercise A1 sheet with the 6 sentences. So we have, so the goal is here now to do this translation in 3 steps. So we haven't done this so far, but so I'm going to elaborate a little on this, that what I'm expecting here. I'm expecting 3 lines that we are going to fill out, and those 3 lines is, first of all, the transliteration scheme. So we are going to put this in like a romanization letters with ABC English type of letters here, but with the exact Sanskrit pronunciation. So this is the sort of standard that I do in the whole course here. And there is a particular name and there's a particular variant, but I'm using the variant here that we can recreate the Devanagari from the transliteration. So we're not doing any old-fashioned school thing that like a 200 years. I mean, there were systems also before, like in the 18th century and like that were using a certain kind of transliteration, but I'm using the modern system, one of the modern systems. And if you want to, for me to speak about the differences about different transliteration systems, I would be happy to do so in another video. So if you want me to do that, you can leave a comment in the video. Anyway, here's so we have 3 lines, so I can just do this first to just, and we have done this before, but we may not have done so explicitly, call this. So we just write it up nicely here, hopefully. And then we finish it off with a semicolon, as we do in this course. So instead of a straight bar, like a vertical bar there on the Devanagari line, on the Deva line as I call it, we do a semicolon on the transliteration line, just to we are romanizing everything, we're doing everything more English style. All right, and then on the SWO line here, we haven't been talking about this, but this means English with Sanskrit word order. So, and that stands for that we're doing a more literal translation of the transliterated word above here. So I will do here. In this case it's easy because here we have tat, and it sort of directly translates to it, so that's no problem. But here in terms of the verb, we have a method here where we include the implicit subject which is in the verb because of its ending in Sanskrit. So we are spelling out here what that implicit, that silent subject is. So it speaks, and this will be more helpful later on when we are getting more words in the sentence, and when we are getting more situations where we don't have any pronouns, for instance, and there are so many situations. All right, so it speaks, and that's the English with Sanskrit word order. And then what we do here in the last line, we actually do a proper translation, or attempt to produce a proper it speaks. Excuse me. So it speaks, and what we did here now then was that since we already have an explicit pronoun here, tat, we use that we go straight down here and use that as the subject in our English sentence. So this implicit subject in the verb, we are not using that in this case. So the method then is and the idea also here with the SWO line is that we are always on the SWO line, we're always producing one word per Sanskrit word. And when one word is not enough in English, we use hyphens to connect them. So, and this could be 3 or more words in English with hyphens to represent one word in Sanskrit. So there are sort of at least two things with SWO line that makes it good. One is that it represents the same word order as in the Sanskrit. That's one thing. But then it also clarifies the Sanskrit word. So in this case, vadati, it clarifies that the implicit subject is it. All right. So we can say that it sort of clarifies our understanding of what vadati means in this particular circumstance. All right, so I think that's, and maybe we could do even a particular video about the virtue of SWO lines. So maybe I'll do that later, and if you would like that, we can talk more about that. because I think it's important in terms of outlining the grammar and making it understandable and systemization of sort of the process of translating and process of understanding Sanskrit. Anyway, so let's do number 2 then. So we do our transliteration line. We have a long a, and this is also something we. It's not that we write SAA or something to represent long, but we use this. It's called a macron, but it's a horizontal line just above the A, and actually I think we should make it a little closer to the A there, so it's more resembling to what others are doing. Sa, and then we have vadati here, vadati. And don't worry now that even if you may not be expert on the Devanagari here yet, but you can follow along in the Roman transliteration here if you want. So we have sa, vadati, and so our SWO line then is she for the pronoun sa, and then we have the implicit subject she speaks. She also in the and this implicit subject here then is there because we have a pronoun that specifies it. So if we weren't having a pronoun, we would just use the default value of he speaks. But now that we have an explicit pronoun, we know that the implicit subject is she in this case. All right, so the translation then is she speaks. And note also here on the SWO line that I'm always using only small letters, unless we have a name like Rama or Krishna or Radha or Sita or something like that. I always do that because then it becomes because we have a word order thing also. That's one of the reasons. And also another reason is simply that we want to graphically sort of make SWO line and the English lines a little different, so you can easier see that there is a difference. And the English line also, of course, we put the big letter S here for she, and we get rid of the hyphens. So we have translated the pronoun directly, and then we are skipping the implicit there. That's what's happening. So let's take the number 3 then. Siddhati tat. We write this out. We have a long E sound. Siddhati tat. And here we have an interesting example here with reversed word order, because this is not the normal word order is tat in before the verb, but here it comes last, and this actually happens in the Sanskrit literature also, so it's not just me flipping out here, but it's actually it's done in the scriptures or in the texts. Alright, so we do our SWO line here. I'm just writing this here so we remember it. So vadati then, but then we have tat there also. So what we do here is that, so we'll translate this for now with it and make our implicit subject the it in vadati, it sits, and then we just have the pronoun itself there. And we note here then I'm not on the SWO line, I'm not switching the position of the words. So it sits, it. And then when I do my English, I now write the right word order in English. It sits. Beautify this little, it sits. And once again then we have gotten rid of this implicit. So the it that comes down here is the it over here. Alright, that's the process, and let's do number 4, vadati. And we can vadati. And the interesting thing here now is that we have a standalone verb and no pronoun. So how should we translate it? Well, we will just use our default translation. He speaks. Well, of course, in a real situation you have sentences before and after and all that, and you can look at the context and you can, but if we just find this word alone, then we will do our default variant here with he speaks. So on our English line we will get he speaks. And we note here then that in this case the subject that goes down, the subject that ends up on the English line, it's the implicit subject of the verb. So just mini arrow, or we can do it actually, maybe it's nicer just do it like that. There's not much choice in this, of course, but I'm still pointing out here that it's the implicit subject of the verb that ends up as a standalone pronoun in English. Alright, so let's take number 5. We do our transliteration. Vadati, sa. And we do our SWO. She speaks. She. And our English becomes she speaks. In number 6 we have tat vadati. Oh, I should have semicolons and end of sentence also here. in number 4 and 5. Okay, all right, tat vasati. And so our SWO line becomes it dwells. And then, of course, we get our final it dwells, like that. So no big surprise there. Okay, let's go on to our A2 exercise sheet. Goes there, and here we are doing English to Sanskrit instead. So she sits. And here then, when we're going this way, our SWO line is the first line under the assignment that we are going to translate. So that's the first thing we're doing. So we are doing our clarifying here. So we are going to use a pronoun here because there's no, the word she in the English has no parentheses. So, and that's the indication that we should have a separate word for it. So that means we should use pronouns, and then we clarify the verb. She sits, and then we do our translate line, and that's sa for her, or for she, sorry, and then she's sitting, right? So we have vadati here, third person singular, end of sentence. Okay, and then we just do the Devanagari here. It goes a little slowly for me to write the Devanagari here, but that's just because I'm writing in it in bigger scale than I would do if I were handwriting it on a sheet of paper. So it's a little more tricky to form the letters. It's more like drawing this than writing, actually. But anyway, so bear with me. Sa, vadati, and here we see that the E sound here, the long E, is standing to the right of the sa, or the S sound. So here in the ending T here, the E sound stands to the left of the ta, which becomes a T. But in the beginning of the word here, see that the long E sound stands to the right. So that's the normal use of short and long E sounds. So one is before and one after. We just have to memorize that. 2, it speaks. And here we can see here that I've used parentheses here to indicate that we are not going to use any pronoun. So therefore we will only do a speaks here. But who's speaking? Well, the whole point here in this exercise is that we are supplying an indication here of who it is. So if we only had the word speaks, of course, we wouldn't know. So that would be he speaks. But now we have it, so we have to put it like this: it speaks, with a hyphen. That's our SWO. It speaks. And so then, of course, it's vadati. Well, of course, I mean, that's, for me it's of course, but maybe not for you. Sorry about that. And it's especially if you're new to this, there's nothing of course with Sanskrit. I would say so. So then we do our va, da, ti there. Maybe we can spell that out more explicitly. So if you're new to the Devanagari script, then that might be helpful. Now let's go on to number 3 then. She dwells, and here we have an explicit subject. Explicit pronoun is expected then. Our SWO comes here. She dwells. And once again here, the implicit subject in the verb here is, we know it's she because the pronoun is there, so that's why we put it there like that. Otherwise we wouldn't know. And then we have the translit here, transliteration line, and she is sa, and she dwells is sa vasati. So it's only third person singular here on this sheet, because that's what we have covered in this lesson. So we are keeping ourselves not having too many variants here, but there will be lots of time for variants in the other lectures that are, or the other exercises that are coming up. Okay, and then we just do the sa here and add sa there, a long a instead, and we do the va, and then we do the sa, and then we do the the e sound here, preparation for it, and then comes the t, ta there, but then when we connect these we get the t instead of ta. So that's just one of those things in Devanagari we have to like that. Okay, so we have end of sentence there, nicely done, and also in number 1 up here. Alright, I'll do that. Okay, number 4, it dwells, and we do our SWO line first here, and we'll just go it dwells, and we know that it is tut, or we should know, even if we don't know it, but we should know it. Okay, tut vasati. Okay, end of sentence there, and we do the ta here, and then we do another ta there, but then we do this little sign there to say that we don't want the short sound in the last ta, so we just get tut, and then we do our va and sa, and then we do another one of those t. and that's all there. Number 5, she speaks, but we have a parenthesis, or we have parentheses, not a, but two parentheses, bracketing the word she. So that means we will not use a pronoun in the Sanskrit. So therefore we only have to have a implicit subject here in the verb. So it's only one word in the Sanskrit, and that word is vadati. So vadati, and end of sentence there. And maybe I should always write this out here, but and then we do the Devanagari here, wa, and then we do our d, da, and another one of those t, vadati. Okay, number 6, it sits, and here we have an explicit pronoun, so I'll, on my S-will line, I will small letters as usual here, and it sits, and then transliteration will be tat, and we are using vadati, long e, vadati, end of sentence, and then we do our ta and our t, and then we do our long e here, e, and we do our da, dental d, and our final t here, indicating the third person singular ending. Alright, so I think that's all for this exercise. We've done 2 sheets, A1 and A2, each of which having 6 sentences, and I think we're in a good situation now for doing the second exercise video. So I'll be hopefully seeing you in that lesson, and I hope that you will also have a very good day. So see you later. Bye bye.